Hello, Lisa Fry, the Catholic unschooler here, / very relaxed homeschooler. I am giving you another update. Boy, things change in our life. They really do. 1 minute I have the perfect life. The next minute I have to find a new normal. You know what I mean? So, wow. I still can't believe that my Mr. Fry is gone to heaven. It is so unbelievable to me that when people start talking to me about it, like if I'm just walking around the house and I'm thinking about it, I don't believe it. And then when they start talking to me about it, it's like, what? Why are you talking like that to me? What are you saying? So it really hasn't sunk in at all. All right, so let's get that straight. If you are a married couple, I am speaking to those people because I am Catholic and I don't believe that you should be living with a man or a woman. I don't believe any of that. So, but I am speaking, to one man, one woman, married. When you are married, what I've learned from this, and I need you to pay attention, because if you're not paying attention, one day you'll have to pay attention. Maybe, right? Maybe not. But you will have to face the music at some point in your life. Maybe you're like me. My husband would say to me, Lisa, why don't you come? You want me to teach you how to do the bills right now? And I would say, nah, because I was thinking about, well, I'm either too nerve-wracked to think about all that and take on all that, because I was already taking care of my side, which was the kids, right? And the property, as you know. So I just was too tired at the end of the day. So because of my not willing to sit down with Mr. Fry and learning his side of the rope, right? You got my side, the kids and the property, and then you have his side, making the money, which I am trying to do little things, Like, for instance, while I was taking care of the kids, I thought, let me start building a YouTube channel. I hear that you can make money off that. I'll tell you all what I know, and we'll see what happens with YouTube, right? That's still happening. This is what I'm doing this for, right? So I'm doing this because I think I have a message that I can give out, just in my life in general, and I can make money. So then there's Mr. Fry, right? He paid the bills, he made the money, and he fixed things, right? And he was the fun guy. He would always, take us on adventures, right? That's not me. So I have to now see, some people, like my brother, he was saying that he will switch off, right? So they will take turns in taking each other's responsibilities. That's very, very smart. Very smart. And so you must learn the ropes of each other. Say you're a husband and you don't know how to cook. You don't know how to go shopping. You don't know how to, maybe the wife is doing the yard like me. You don't know how to do that. You don't really care to know. You don't know. You have nothing to do with it. You have no interest. Well, you got to learn it. Now and then, practice it. I wish to God, okay, that I had enough brain power to figure out that my fear of it was stopping me from sitting there with Mr. Fry and learning the ropes. All I had to do was sit there every now and then, or maybe every time he was ready to do a bill, and just have him show me. Okay, what was his method? What was his way? Now it's like this big mystery. I can come up with my own way, but like my father said, whatever he was doing was successful, so let me to just jump into his shoes and do the same thing. Okay, so you must learn each other's jobs. The other thing is this. My daughter pointed out to me that we're already ahead because I don't have to try to make up for 2 incomes. Okay, so if I was working and Mr. Fry was working, and we lived this big life using those money from both those jobs, then I would really be falling apart. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't make up for 2 incomes. We have to downsize. The great news is that we only ever lived off one. And it wasn't even a big one, let me tell you, okay? We learned how to be frugal. We learned how to live with cracks in the floor, put rugs over it. We knew how to, be patient and wait for this, that, and the other thing. We knew how to, hey, there's a couch over there. My neighbor's getting rid of it. Can we bring it in the house? I can hear my crow friends. I already fed them though. So, you see what I mean? You got to, if somebody's willing to give you something, you take it if you think you can use it. Don't be afraid to be frugal. Okay? Because one day you're going to be afraid to spend money, and you can't do that. Excuse me. All right, you're going to see this glare coming from the side of the window. Let me see if I can fix that. My son came down, sorry about that. And I have a little bit of a fettuccine Alfredo kind of thing. So let me eat while I talk. Is that okay? That's what we do as Italians. So you have to learn the trade of each other. Obviously, you can't go to work. You can't switch jobs, but I'm talking at home. Try to only live off one income. Very important, in my opinion, in case you need to take care of business by yourself. A lot of you aren't going to face what I'm facing. You might live to a very old age, and each person, you die very old. Okay? That's what I was hoping for. It didn't work out that way. Last weekend, or last Tuesday, not last Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that, before that, I mean, the 23rd is when Mr. Fry died. That saying, drop dead, is true. It's ridiculous. I don't like it. However, you must learn each other's jobs as much as you possibly can. I didn't do that. Now, Mr. Fry, he could probably figure it out. He was a strong man, He could take care of the kids, and he could do it. My job was very difficult in being diligent and loving your children and being mindful, and, he may not still understand my philosophy 100%, but he definitely did. He was on board, but I'm still trying to figure myself out. But trying to learn his ways is not easy. I've had the most amazing support system. I have never been alone, except for right now, and I think one time other than this. Since the 23rd, I have been with somebody, bringing me comfort and peace and showing me the ropes. Because, when a loved one dies suddenly, with no warning at all, you think, oh, everything's gonna end up right back where it was. Once, he was on vacation, everything's gonna be back to normal. And it's not. So that's my message for right now, is that you have to know. Now, the other thing is that when you go through a trauma of any kind, a lot of times you might react in a way that's sort of kind of irrational. Your thoughts could be irrational. And you might not be going through what I'm going through right now, but it's good to know this stuff and practice it. Just like before I was married, I might have been engaged. I used to go to classes on how to be a good mother. You know, take bits and pieces out of that, so that when it came time, I was prepared. You know? So it's like life insurance is what I'm trying to sell you here, okay? On just knowing each other's job. Because if you don't have knowledge on that, you're gonna have a really hard time. So as I was mourning Mr. Fry, now if I had done his job and I knew it well, I could sit back and I can mourn the man. I was mourning the man, all right, my beloved. But I had to figure out everything else, and it was horrible. I don't wish that on anybody. That was horrible. It was so difficult to try to figure out finances, to try to go to City Hall, the Social Security office, to go get birth certificates and Social Security cards, which Mr. Fry already had, but I couldn't find them. Again, not prepared. So, you have to have all your documents, get a will, pay a lawyer. What is it? I don't know. Is it more than $100? Maybe it is. Maybe it's hundreds of dollars. You know, have your beneficiaries all lined up. Have your names on everything the same. Because if you don't, that's another can of worms that you have to try to dig through. Okay? There are some things that my name is not on, or some things my name, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Okay, so my name is not on some things, and now I have to go and work all that out, and that is a process. So have your name on both names on everything that you think you're gonna definitely want to, you know, deal with. If you don't have both names, do it. Both names, both jobs. You must know each other's. If you're afraid, like I was, I recommend not having to do it all at one time. Say, can you show me how to cook? Can you show me how to, you know, what's your thoughts about how to take care of the kids with your homeschooling? You know, dip in every now and then. I didn't even do that. I think I did it one day. So, the other thing is, with this reactive mind of ours, you know, I have been living in a ton of fear since it happened, even before it happened. Always thinking, oh my gosh, if I was ever responsible for this, that, and the other thing, how would I do it? And I had all these tapes playing in my head about, you know, these insecurities, like, well, you're not smart enough, you're not good with that, you know. And so I get nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I? But yet, when my mother, Graham, was dealing with all her medical stuff, she was in the emergency room, you know, who was taking care of her doing all of that? Who dealt with going here, there, and everywhere into the cities and the offices and filling out this paperwork and that paperwork and trying to make sense of everything and her health and the insurances? Me. So I must be capable of many good things. It's just that I don't know how to do this. I have really no idea. I mean, I guess I sort of, kinda, but not really. So I am scared to death. However, my sister came over today. Now, she gave me what's called auditing. And I'm telling you about this because it is a therapy. Okay? Now, a lot of people, they hear, oh, Scientology. Well, too bad. Okay? We are Catholic. All right? We are devoutly Catholic. And the Catholic Church has given us permission through a letter saying that we can, just like you know algebra, that's from Arabs. Okay? Every single person on the planet can offer something really wonderful. And together, you know, it's not only the Catholic Church and only its people that can offer really wonderful things to the planet. Oh no, that's not how God designed everything. So when you hear Scientology and you hear all the trash that's talked about it, you know, you have to wonder why. Okay, they have their story and I'm telling you mine. That through Scientology, that's its own church, but they also teach out of their church, right? So they have like how to get along with others, okay? How to deal with somebody who is like way down here on the tone scale. Maybe you're really happy, but this person is really down here. How to reach them, how to talk to them, okay? Simple. So there's a thing called auditing where they're not your counselors. They're not telling you anything. It's very, very different from, say, psychology or psychiatry. Very different. You are answering your own questions, which is spectacular, you know. So she ran me through a session today, and when I went into it, I was very, very nervous. I woke up this morning. Every morning seemed to be like facing this whole thing again. I have it all under my belt. I'm like doing the paperwork. I got everything in the mail. Like, hey. And then all of a sudden I feel confident. I'm like, yeah, I can do this. I see where I want to go. And I feel confident. But every morning it seems so far that I wake up terrified. Because then I have to work it all out again. It's like, is this really true? I miss my husband. I miss him. I just want to see him. Is it possible? And I'm like, oh my God, you're telling me that I can't see him again until I die? Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. You have your beloved. You know, I'm crazy about Mr. Fry. I've known him since I think my 21. I'm 48. All right? I've known him for a long time. And I miss him terrible. I don't believe it. He's my beloved. And it's insane to me. It's totally insane. You know, I don't know if you're in love, like gaga goo goo, like Bon Jovi shows up at your door when you're a teenager and says, you want to marry me? And you're like, what? Oh my gosh, yeah. You know, all starstruck, and like that's how I see Mr. Fry. It's like he's my all, he's my everything. He is completely man. He is completely my man. My nickname for him when I was, you know, writing out a card, or I would just call him, I would say man. Because he was completely man. Okay? I adore him in every way. So for him to be gone, I'm like, what? I don't believe it still. There was one day I'm running around my yard calling for him. I was like in a hallucinated kind of state. I was running around calling him. I refused to believe it. I said no, as though I had some sort of control. I said, no, I am going to get him now. And I went around my yard calling him around and screaming my brains out. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I don't believe it. I'm waiting to see him. I am still waiting. My children were still waiting to see him. So I wake up every day and I'm faced with that. It's like, are you kidding? I'm waiting to see him in the bed. He wasn't in the bed in the morning anyway because he was working at night. But there were days that, you know, maybe Saturday, you know, or just whenever, I would see him in the nighttime over there, you know. And now, I actually, if somebody is sleeping in my bed, like my stepmother comes over, she might lay there, or maybe Seth, my son, and I actually spend like a couple of seconds just imagining that body that's laying there under those blankets being Mr. Fry. Because I want it so bad. I want to believe that he is really here. Because I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. It's so hard. You know, and then you have the whole faith side of things. You know, besides everything I'm talking to you today about. You know, I have the whole faith side. And I'm like, so God, out of all the things that I've ever been afraid about, I have it right in front of my face right now. And I'm saying, why? Right? My whole thing is, hey, God's will be done. I've dealt with that in the very beginning. It's God's will. I was comforting my children. It's God's will. And then I finally came to a place that I was like, because everybody else around me was asking why. And I'm like, it's God's will. And then after a while, I was like asking God, why? Is it because I've been praying for him? Is it because I always pray to be a saint? And I know a lot of saints, you know, they go through hell. Bottom line, better to go hell now than on earth. You know, I mean, go to hell. I mean, it's better to deal with all that now than in purgatory. Okay, where you get purged of your sins. It's a Catholic doctrine. So going through being audited with this healing, highly, I don't even know how I would get through it without that. There's the grace of God, and the grace of God has been seeing me through my sister and my stepmother too. You know, she'll walk me up and down the street, or even in my house, and she'll say, "Okay, tell me something that doesn't remind you of Steve." And then I'll say, "That cup over there." Good. Tell me something that doesn't remind you of Steve. And I'm like looking around, and I'm like, everything reminds me of him. And I'm like, well, I guess that loaf of bread up there doesn't remind me of him. And she's like, good. And so we run this through until I can, like, there's a change, like where I feel better. I start to smile. I'll have a thought. And she's like, good, we're done. You know, and there's another one where you touch things. You know, it's like, I had to go in his car because I'm going to have to take my van off the road, unfortunately. And I'm going to have to drive Mr. Fry's car. So we'd be in the car, and she's like, good, touch the steering wheel. Good, release. Okay. Touch the shifter. Good, release. And you're doing this throughout everything in the car. And what happens is, the reason for this is so that the one like myself who is suffering, and all I see is Mr. Fry and everything, is that it makes me realize that when I come into the kitchen, not everything, I think it does, but not everything really does remind me of Steve, like Sarah's Arts and Crafts. They don't remind me of Steve. But when I come into the room, I'm like looking at everything, and it's like I have goggles on with his picture in there, and all I see, you know, goggles have like all the way around, you know, you can't see anything. And I'm thinking, wow, everywhere I look, all I see is Steve, because that's all that's on my mind. So she helps me to point out that not everything, that bookshelf over there doesn't remind me of Steve. Okay, all the books on it don't either. Oh, but a lot does. And it's very difficult. So now, I highly recommend too. It just sort of happened. It wasn't planned. But since it did happen, I want to share this with you too. I'm telling you all my updates as of now. How to get through. You know, if you're grieving, something traumatic has happened to you, or you just want to prepare for this because you don't know. You don't know. Everything was beautiful, and now it's not. So now, during the funeral, you know, process, I came across the funeral director. And my whole family knows who he is because my family was in the funeral business my whole life. And the place that I had Mr. Fry go into was where my uncle, that building was built by my grandfather and my uncle, for my uncle. So my whole family knows this guy, the funeral director. His name is Joe. He's so guinea, it's wonderful. I love it. I love guineas. So the thing is, he has something that I want. And that's the phone. Let me go answer that. I'll be right back.